Welcome to the Marketing Mastermind, a podcast designed to elevate your entrepreneurial mindset and help you take your business to the next level through digital marketing. Join your host, agency owner Hillary Russell, as she interviews experts from around the world, dives into business success secrets, and gives tactical mindset training to help you elevate all areas of your life and business. Ready? Let's dive into another Marketing Mastermind episode.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Marketing Mastermind podcast. I'm your host, Hillary Russell, and today we are going to be talking about entrepreneurship and marketing across YouTube and Instagram, social media marketing. And I have a very special guest here with me today, Josh Ryan. Josh, say hello to our audience.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today. So guys, for those listening, just to tell you a little bit about Josh, he has a very, very impressive story, very impressive background. At just 22 years old, he has built multiple platforms, multiple accounts, and gained millions of followers across Instagram theme pages. He runs an agency, YouTube channel, and has just really learned the art of creating interest and intrigue across social media. So Josh, I can definitely not do as well of a job giving a little bit of background on your story than what you could maybe do. Give us like the 30,000 foot view of how did you become so good at social media marketing?
Cheers. I mean, that's firstly a pretty good introduction. I appreciate it. I first got into social media marketing, I would have been about 15, either just turned 15 or just turning 15 in high school. And I was always somewhat interested in entrepreneurship and that sort of thing. And so I'd read a few books on it, and lots of people were talking about like vision boards and sort of a lot of manifestation and so on. And so I ended up creating an Instagram account that was sort of a lot of that stuff there. Quotes I liked, called travel destinations. It was quite all over the show, but started that as a bit of fun and didn't think much of it until I ended up reaching out to a guy who was the biggest motivational account on Instagram at the time, but only had about 200,000 followers. Asked if he could help like promote my account, like just, mention me in a caption or something like that. And didn't think much of it, but he turned around and he's like, yeah, sure, but it'll be like $50 or $60 or something like that. And I was like, hang on a minute, you guys getting paid? Like, like you're building an audience and you're getting paid for it. And that was back in 2015. No one really knew what influencer marketing was. Gary Vee didn't exist. It wasn't on social media. Like, no one really knew that stuff. And so when I found out about that, I was just really fascinated by it. And sort of since then, I've just spent a ton of time learning sort of the art of building audiences, monetizing audiences across Instagram, YouTube. 3 years later, I finished high school and I just gave it a shot and went full-time working with clients. And the past 4 years, I've pretty much been doing that, building my own accounts, helping clients and documenting a lot of that stuff on YouTube.
How crazy. So first getting into this at 15 years old, when you first, heard that, oh yeah, you're charging me to mention my name here. Was that something that went through your mind of, I could make a career out of this? Or did it start out just being like, oh, a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars here? Did you always know that it was something that could, I guess, become so big?
Probably not at the time. I probably didn't think it would be that crazy.
Yeah.
Because I guess I just gave it a shot because what is there to lose? Like I was year 11 in high school. So there was 3 years of school left. And so like just do it for a bit of fun, see what happens, see where it goes. And just following something that I was interested in.
That's awesome. Very cool. And I want to ask too, so you're based in New Zealand, and so I apologize if this is I'm not trying to ask an ignorant question, but with social media, do you have access to all of like the US accounts and like everything as well, or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, like so like as in being able to log into clients' accounts and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's all totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the ability to log into clients and all of that from New Zealand. The only difference is there's some features that aren't available in New Zealand, and some that are some that come early as well. Like, for example, likes only recently got removed in the States, I believe, on Instagram. It was like 2019, 2020 maybe that we lost them here. And so we didn't have likes for like 2 years before anyone else lost it. But then we seem to get all the bad features first, and the good ones, like getting paid for reels. Like I've got clients in the US that are getting paid thousands a month for their reels, and we just don't get that feature here. So swings and roundabouts, but pretty similar platform, really. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've always been curious about that. I run an agency myself, and we've got clients in the UK and in Australia, and noticed that sometimes there's differences there. So I was just curious. Okay, so tell us a little bit. So you're 22 years old right now, correct? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you have been up to since discovering social media marketing at 15 up until, now being 22 years old.
So the first sort of 3 years, I was mostly just building theme pages on Instagram. So I ended up building a lot of them, different like travel accounts, motivational pages, some that were more like luxury sort of pages on Instagram, even I think a couple fitness accounts, mostly just curating content. So finding other creators and working with them and building accounts up. Built up a bunch of accounts and sort of tried a bunch of things for monetization. Did a bit of drop shipping, did a bit of affiliate marketing, selling promotions to brands as well. Did a lot of that. And then as I turned 18 and finished high school, I just decided to go all in on working with clients. And so I sold all of my pages except for the main one that I've got today, which is Millionaire Dream, and then just focused on helping clients, which is where income sort of grew a lot and sort of took me to making a full-time income and doing pretty well with things, and started a YouTube channel after that. So now I've got the agency, YouTube, and I still have that original page, but I don't really do much on it. I've just got someone that handles that for me. And yeah, so it's the main two focuses at the moment, is clients and building my channel.
That's awesome. What would you say? Because I mean, the majority of our audience are entrepreneurs of all ages, right? Individuals who are wanting to start a business that have spent years and years in the corporate world and are just ready to do something on their own. And also individuals who are, of younger generation that know right off the bat that they don't want to get into the 9-to-5 grind and, just want to start their own businesses. I'm curious, what would you say was one of the most impactful factors for your success as an entrepreneur, especially at such a young age?
I think going like all in on one thing, because for the 3 years that I'd sort of started, most of it was pretty like I sort of got up to the point where I was making a couple $1,000s a month pretty quickly, which to be fair is quite good for a 16-year-old, I guess. But it's somewhat stagnated because I was doing all of these different things. I was trying to do affiliate marketing, I was trying to flip pages, I was trying to do drop shipping, is all of these different things on the accounts. And so I never really gave anything enough time. When I sort of was forced to either, make this a full-time thing or not, and I focused on one thing, that's when things grew a lot more. And so just focusing on the agency. And it doesn't necessarily mean that agency is the best route. It's just more focusing on one. I could have picked affiliate marketing and focused on that, and that would have done well. It can be anything really. It's just one at a time.
Yeah. Do you think that is the biggest or the main factor for individuals that don't find success? Do you think that it's just simply not being consistent long enough, or do you think there's
probably there's probably a big one. There's got to be other factors too. If you're in a niche that's not, if you're in a dying industry or something, that's probably also going to hinder what you're trying to achieve.
Sure.
But focusing on one thing definitely makes it a lot easier to get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. This is a question that I get pretty often from the entrepreneurs that we work with. And that is, how long should you be testing or trying one thing or staying consistent with one thing before pivoting to something else? How long should you try something until realizing like, oh, this isn't working, and then try something else?
Probably tricky for me to give a good, well-rounded answer on that, because I don't have a track record of all of these. Like if I'd worked with, dozens of people that were beginning, and then I could say exactly what works, but it probably depends on how much time you're giving to it and whether it's costing you money as well. So if you start a YouTube channel as a side hobby, you could create content for 2 years and be negative nothing, and just like, you haven't lost any money. You've learned some skills, you've built something up, and maybe after 2 years it starts popping off. If you start a software company and you have to put all this money into it and you have to run all these ads, you probably want to have a shorter time frame to try and actually get results. So it probably depends a lot on that. I'd say content wise, there's this idea, I think, rule of 100 that I saw a guy, Noah Kagan, talking about, where you put out 100 pieces of content on YouTube without sort of expecting any results. And then after that is sort of where you should see things coming. So that would sort of mean 2 pieces of content for a year at YouTube. But I mean, it's going to vary massively from business to business, niche to niche.
Sure.
And prior experience too.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I like that. That is I think kind of a good rule of thumb. Looking at the cost, like what are you putting into it? Time is one thing, but if you're also putting financial assets or financial investment into that as well, obviously you're going to want to see a return on that more quickly. Yeah, I like that answer. I've actually heard that too with the content, that you should be doing it for, I've also heard too, like a 90-day rule, like one piece of content at least for 90 days in that specific area or niche or pathway that you're choosing. So that's awesome. Cool. Okay. So I want to learn a little bit more about what your experience was as you realized that you started having a talent for building these platforms. What did that look like? And was it something that you just stumbled upon and kind of accidentally became good at, or did you what did that experience look like?
I mean, I just spent a ton of time learning and trying things. So it wasn't necessarily that I started right away and things worked. I sort of got into it, just tried everything. So I just spent all day trying to do it. Just learning different techniques, meeting other people doing it, reaching out to them and learning from what they're doing. There were all these big group chats back in the day, or they weren't big group chats, they're pretty small, but with all these people that were building accounts. And so you'd just be talking to people all day long, seeing what they're doing, what's working for them, what's not working. And just eventually through a lot of trial and error is pretty much how I've learned most of it. I don't know if it would as such be a gift. It's just more just learning over time, just through doing, really, more than anything.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So I was listening to something the other day where they were talking about, with the way that our world has shifted, especially over the last couple of years, that it is almost necessary as a professional, whether you are an entrepreneur or in the business world, in the corporate world, it's almost necessary that you are building a personal brand, right? Building a brand for yourself, either on social media or on some type of platform. What advice would you give to someone that's just starting out, trying to build reputation for their name or for their brand?
I mean, if you're building a business and then you're trying to build a personal brand on the side, the easiest way is just going to be documenting what you're doing. So just sharing what you're doing, what you're learning, etc. And it doesn't have to be too planned out or strategic. Because like if you're building a marketing agency, for example, and you're trying to grow that, you can simply just share what's working for you guys. You can, if you have a client that does really well on YouTube, then you can share some things that you learn from that. If you hire someone and then you make a mistake, you can share what went wrong, what you did wrong, what you've learned from it, etc. And you can just create content just sort of dissecting what you're doing, what's working, what's not working. And I think that's probably one of the best ways you can build a personal brand as a founder, because usually it's just really interesting content. Because people can see real life, what is working, what isn't. They can see case studies. You can go and, I mean, on YouTube, a lot of like how-to style content works. But I heard Alex Hormozi talking about this, and I've noticed it works. I've noticed it looking back on my content as well, is if you switch it from how to how I, and it's like how I did this, then it makes your content a lot more interesting. You can build a lot bigger audience, because if I say how to grow on Instagram, people, might be somewhat interested. But if I say how I grew on Instagram, how I gained X amount of followers, all of a sudden it's much more interesting. There's actually a case study there, and people automatically see I'm credible, because I'm not just someone that's just read a blog post and regurgitating it. Like, I've actually got results on what I'm talking about. So that's probably one of the big things, is just create around what you're doing and documenting it.
That's really good advice. I like that a lot. Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. That is something that Alex Hormozi does a really great job of. I mean, he's kind of, I don't know, I'm a marketing nerd, so I'm watching, content constantly, but I feel like he does a really great job. He's kind of got that like coined video angle of him just sitting there talking like this, right? Like really open and telling his stories. And that's cool that you pointed that out. I love that advice too, because I think that as entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting out, you always hear that you need to be creating social media content, and it feels overwhelming for a lot of individuals, because you're like, what do I post? I have no idea what to post. And that just seems like additional work. So I think that's a great tip that you gave, of just document the process, and it's okay to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah. And I heard him say that specific, like switching from how to how I, like 2 months ago. But then when I look back at my content from years ago, the stuff that's performed the best has always been how I, like, I made a video. It was like, it was titled like, I spent $1,000 on YouTube ads. Here's what I learned. And that one did really well. That got like 80,000 views or something on YouTube. And at the time I posted it, I had like 4,000 subscribers or something. And then there were other videos like how this person went from 0 to 10,000 followers on Instagram, and that got like 150,000. Like, all of my content that's done well has always been documenting instead of just telling people. So it works quite well. It's very effective.
That's really cool. Okay, so when it comes to social media content posting, how important, or I should say, what is more important, or does one come before the other? Is it more important to make sure that you are optimizing your, let's say, titles for YouTube videos, or your tags?
I think tags are not as important nowadays. I think YouTube's getting really good at being able to dissect what's in the video. Like, they've got good algorithms that can sort of pick up on what's being said, because like, they can automatically caption videos, so they can hear what's being said. So I don't think tags are as important nowadays. I think even if you do go to tag your videos on YouTube, it says that tags have little to no importance unless like it's in a different language or something, because they can pick up on it automatically. So titles is definitely much more important for YouTube.
Okay. Do you have any tips on, for individuals that are either starting a new YouTube channel or wanting to grow their channel? What advice would you give on knowing what the best title is to use?
Having your like keywords at the front of the title is quite important, I've found, because usually I think it varies based on if you're looking on a desktop or a mobile, but usually you can only see the first like 50 or so characters of a title when it pops up in your feed, like if someone's consuming content. And so if the keywords that are going to get someone to click after that, they probably won't see it. So if you can try and stack them at the front, as well, just using that simple, like how I did something, how I gained X amount of followers, how I hired these people, that sort of stuff there also helps a lot. And just really understanding who you're trying to reach and what they're going to be interested in.
Yeah, that's good advice. Awesome. Okay, so I'm curious, if you could go back to your 15-year-old self and give yourself any type of advice, what advice would you give yourself?
Just probably focus on one thing and build it really big, instead of trying to do all these little things on the side and get distracted.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I love that you say that, because I think that for those of us that have that entrepreneurial spirit, it's almost ingrained that you want to just try to build as many, at the beginning at least, try to build as many up as you can, as many different things as you can. But you're exactly right. It's not until you kind of laser focus on one and get that up and running that then it
Yeah.
makes sense to make the other successful as well. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I think I even heard another guy talking about it, that people almost do it to stay stimulated, where they'll build something up and it'll be going well, and they might be making a full-time income from it, and then they want to do other things because that might have got boring to them because it's just easy. And he sort of explained it like, build your business to make an income, help people out, build an impact, and then do fun stuff in your life that can stimulate yourself that way, instead of trying to solve your personal problem of being bored by starting more things that are just going to distract you and overwhelm you.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so on the flip side of that then, what advice do you have for individuals who are trying to build something but just can't find the motivation or maybe the discipline to continue on?
I don't know if there's a way to sort of find motivation. Like if you don't already have that, like why you want to do something,
Right.
then it's pretty hard to, I guess, to artificially do it. Like either you want something or you don't, I guess. Like if you're sick of what you're doing at the moment and you want something else, you're probably pretty motivated to put in the work in. If you're pretty comfortable, you're pretty happy and you're not that worried, you're probably not going to be that motivated to get it done. I don't know if I've got any good outside advice that can help for that.
No, I actually love that you answered it that way, because this is something too that I've been thinking a lot about probably the last couple of months, that the idea of motivation doesn't really exist. It's discipline, right? It's discipline keeps you continuing onward, and you can find passion. You can find passion in things, and that might give you like a burst of, adrenaline for a bit to, get something done. But it's really in the discipline that, moves things percentage by percentage until you find success. So that's cool. Okay, awesome. So Josh, tell us, and thank you so much, by the way, for just sharing, your experience and your story, and some of these very, very helpful and valuable tips. Tell us a little bit more, if you don't mind, about your YouTube channel and the type of content, what individuals can learn just by following you and watching your videos.
Yeah, so it's mostly been Instagram marketing in the past, where it's just been pretty much everything: how to grow on Instagram, how to monetize, different updates, all of that, which is sort of where it started. And now it's sort of changing a little bit to go a little bit more broad and sort of covering tips on YouTube and other platforms that are working. So it's more just helping business owners grow their audience on social media and get more customers with. That's sort of where I'm trying to move it towards. So instead of just being Instagram, it's sort of what's the best, most effective use of your time to grow an audience and get customers for your business. So that's sort of where I'm trying to take it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. And I've seen your content. I mean, obviously I'm following your different pages and whatnot. And I sincerely, I would say that a lot of your content is, I would say, on par or better than some of the content I've paid a lot of money for to learn from. So
thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. That's sort of what I strive to do, is create
awesome.
better stuff for free than other people charge for.
That's cool. Awesome. All right. So tell us any last words of advice that you have for entrepreneurs who are trying to build online.
Yeah, I mean, pick one thing, go hard at it. Focus on the value you can bring to the end user, which is regardless of whether you're trying to create content or build a business, or maybe you're a freelancer. Like, how can you bring value to the business? What is it that you're doing? If you're a web designer, instead of just, offering website creation, it's like you're offering a way to generate leads and customers online. Like, always look at how you are impacting the audience, the customers, whatever it is that you're focusing on. If you're building a social media account, it's like, who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to reach? How can you create content that's going to be interesting, valuable, entertaining to those people, and go about doing that?
Yeah, that's awesome. I have to ask this because it comes up a lot in our community. Is there such thing as giving too much free value?
I don't think so. Because a lot of people have this idea that if they give away a lot for free, that they won't have anything they can sell. And I think it's sort of actually the other way around. Like, if you don't give away lots for free, someone else will, and you won't have an audience. So if you just try and hold everything back, you're not going to build an audience. You don't have anyone to sell to in the first place, and someone else is probably going to do it anyway. So if you're the person that gives it away, you're the person that gets all the trust, you're the person that builds an audience and gets all the customers. And by giving away so much upfront for free, then it becomes very easy to get paying customers, because people already trust you so much, whether you're selling a course and you're distilling all of your free content into a simple to follow plan, or whether you're giving away lots of free and then you sell the implementation of actually doing it for people with a service, or however you do it. You can even give away everything for free and then monetize with affiliate links for the products or tools or services that people need to use to achieve it. So yeah, I think the more you can give away for free, the better.
That's great advice. Yeah, and such a great perspective as well, that don't be afraid to give free value, because even if you're not the one doing it, someone else probably will, and build that audience, right? That's
exactly.
Yeah, building the trust is the first step in in converting someone over into a client. So that's a very important piece. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Josh, thank you so very much. I really appreciated our conversation. Please tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can connect with you and get in touch.
Yeah, so YouTube's probably the main place at the moment that I put out content, and it's just Josh Ryan. I've got a couple of Instagram accounts. I've got just at Josh Ryan, which is a bit more personal, and then at Cleverpreneur, which is where there's a lot more educational content along those lines there. Be careful. There are a lot of people pretending to be me that you'll get messages from, but yeah, I'm not going to be selling any crypto scams or whatever that you'll get weird messages about. And that's about it. I do have a podcast as well, actually, probably similar to yours. It's just Josh Ryan Show. So you can check that out if you want as well. But yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Marketing Mastermind podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, rate our show, and share with your friends on social media. You can also join our community by visiting us online at marketingmastermindpodcast.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.